Hi, Jeff Adams here with Terrasophia, an ecological design and watershed restoration firm based in Moab, Utah. Here to share a little bit about a integrated water harvesting and erosion control project that I did in Albuquerque, New Mexico at one of their open space facilities. And this was a really fun project. They had an existing rainwater catchment tank, which you can see here, and it is plumbed so that the overflow of it goes clear across the driveway and out into a field on the other side. Meanwhile, as that's happening, there's also some erosion going on. There's you can kind of see some little rivulets and lines, and essentially all this water is sheeting over here, and then as it goes down this hill, it's causing a decent bit of bank erosion. And so what we were trying to solve for in this is, how do we make better use of the rainwater tank overflow water? How do we protect this road and make better use of the surface runoff coming off this road and driveway and stop some of that erosion? And then the other piece was, how do we make this space more functional and aesthetically appealing? This is a public facility, and we were just kind of looking at how can we manage the water better, grow some desired vegetation so that it's not all just weedy species popping up, and beautify the space. And so what we came up with is an integrated water harvesting where we redirected the overflow and put it into a rain garden, a series of basins. So now that same rainwater that had been piped across the driveway, now the overflow comes and goes into this upper basin. These rock aprons essentially set the elevation so we can determine how much water pools up and how much area we inundate. And that elevation, especially on this top one, is carefully set so that the water will overflow and move this direction before it has a chance to back up enough to get within 12 feet of this building. So we're really helping to protect the building, protect and harvest and manage that water. And so those surface waters that you see in eroding in the before picture can just now come and enter into these basins. There's no berm on this upper side so that sheet flow can just come in, overflows again to another basin, and then the final overflow goes across a gentle little dip in the road and ends up in the field. So now this same overflow water, instead of directly going out into a field, now has a chance to pool up and soak in all along the edge of this driveway. We've used the soil that we dug to create a berm to make sure that none of that water is going over that bank that was eroding. And then we put in a mixture of native and low water use, drought tolerant plantings. And this was just right after planting, so the plants are still pretty small, but the idea is to create a little bit of a hedge and a pollinator garden along that fence line with the neighbor to just give a little definition and create a little habitat in the space.
What I love about this, Jeff, is that you've taken the same toolbox, but now you've applied it to landscape, specifically landscape design for residential or commercial applications where you have a problem. You have this runoff that's coming in. So not only the sheet flow that's coming off of the drive will now interact with these rain gardens, but also the overflow is being put to use before it gets to the field for beautification, for edification, for again creating a little, call it a gutter, but a beautification gutter. And again, all natural materials, all materials that you found either locally or on site. And when I'm looking at this looks relatively simple for somebody to learn who wants to understand this process. Is that right?
It is, yeah. There's a couple key principles and things to keep in mind. Like, for instance, the shape of these is clearly so that water goes down the middle. So you've kind of got this spot in here that's the flow path, and then the rocks go up the sides of the banks so that you don't get water inadvertently pooling up and eroding around the side of your structure. So it's really stable. All the rocks are just one rock high in this case, and they're stacked in such a way that they kind of lock in real good together, so that pressure of the water coming in causes the water to first spread out over the entirety of the base and bottom, and then the height of these rocks will then cause that water to pool up and fill a certain area and then overflow over rocks. So whenever we have a lot of flowing water in these systems, having some sort of armoring, in this case the rocks, so that moving water, that flowing water, doesn't have the opportunity to pick up sediment and erode, and instead it's going over the solid surface of these rocks, it's infiltrating in between the rocks, and it's helping to recharge the local soil moisture of the system, and ultimately promote more plant growth by keeping that water near to where we want it used by the plants.
Incredible. And when you're looking at this, you've done some plantings. When do you think this system will take off in terms of revegetation? Is this a 1, a 2, or 3 year process?
Yeah, great question. This project was actually done 7 or 8 years ago, and it's one of those, especially in the times where I've traveled for work a little more, I haven't had a chance to circle back to all my projects, but I would guess that this is pretty vegetated in by this point. Especially because we used container stock for this, so potted plants. So we took out some of the uncertainties of planting by seed. Costs a little bit more to buy nursery stock, but we know they've got root systems. We know that we're gonna get most, if not all, of these plants surviving and thriving.
This is something that I appreciate a lot, and I've learned a lot from both you and from Neil Bertrando of RT Permaculture. Is you're very rational and you're very logical about this. When you're coming to a site like this, and you want to have vegetation right up front, but you're open to volunteers, you're open to animal drop, you're going with container plants, they have root systems, they take up. And I think that's why I'm so excited about this course that's coming up with you and Neil, low tech erosion controls, because you're going to be passing on a lot of this knowledge to the students.
That is definitely the goal. I know we've both had a lot of mentors and teachers, and we've learned a lot through our experience and just being in the field and doing this over and over and over again, with each situation having a little bit different mix of variables and goals and constraints and opportunities. And yeah, we're really excited to put some of this material out there and get more people doing it, because these are the types of that, in my opinion, we need everywhere. It's like nobody needs to do everything, but everybody can and should do something. And the more of these small distributed systems we have in a neighborhood, in a watershed, the more cumulative benefits that we, the community, the people get, but also the watershed and the ecosystem receives from this type of work.
Yeah, I can really see that. In this example, we're showing landscapers, we're showing homeowners, both urban and rural, and we're showing those that want to actively be doing this work to become an installer or regenerative land designer, how these tools and these processes can be offerings. They can be services that they give, and they can be further tools for them to refine in their toolbox.
Absolutely.
Well, Jeff, thank you so much for your time. If folks are interested in Jeff's work, take a look to terrasophia.com. And if you're interested in the low tech erosion control course coming up in 2022, check out regenerativeliving.com and check out low tech erosion controls. It'll be a pleasure to have you in the course.